Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another edition of Breaking News. Today is Saturday, the 6th day of July, 2024. And our top stories this morning are the ones we left here with yesterday about two important stories that are actually monumental. First and foremost, Hamas gave a new proposal for a ceasefire yesterday, and there were reports from Israel that is very positive that Israel might take it. The second top story, of course, is Joe Biden's attempted run for a second term and the response that the public is giving the Democrat Party and elsewhere. And so we're going to look at those. Now, what we do know of the new Hamas proposal does not seem to meet Israel's goals, as we will see. In fact, they actually demand an immediate answer today, Saturday. And it's impossible because Saturday is the day Israel rests. We're in the Sabbath right now, the Shabbat. It won't be till this evening that Israel can even give a public response to this. Now, along this line, the New York Times continues to apply pressure on Israel to take the deal, talking about how all these military men want an immediate ceasefire and the politicians aren't listening to them. And so we'll talk about that. And then, of course, Joe Biden's 22-minute interview last night on ABC News with George Stephanopoulos, which did absolutely nothing to quell the fears of people that he is not up for the job. He's not up for it now, and he won't be up for it for the next 4 years. That was obvious by the interview last night. So we'll get into all that. Okay, let's look at the stories. Number one, headline first. IDF prepares new complex reality in Gaza. Here's the analysis. The expected hostage release deal calls the IDF's plan to continue fighting and hold Gaza perimeter into question. Israel fears the goal of replacing Hamas will be derailed. After months of combat, IDF is preparing for a new reality in Gaza, one largely shaped by the ongoing negotiations. Now, let's hope this is not what's going to be the result of this hostage deal if Israel accepts it, because what it seems to be, and this is again a Hamas proposal, it's not meeting the needs of Israel. Remember the three needs: destroy the military capabilities of Hamas, take their leadership away where they don't run the Gaza Strip anymore, and number three, not allow anything in the future from Gaza to come back and bite them, as they did when they allowed in 2005 the Gaza Strip to be in the hands of the Palestinians. So that's the reality they're trying to get to. But we have a proposal by Hamas that's getting closer to that, but it's not what the Israelis want or need as far as we can tell. Again, we will let you know more. Hamas, again, calling, as we're going to see, in fact, that's our second headline. They're demanding a response by Saturday, and Israel refuses unlimited negotiations. They're demanding a response to the ceasefire by tonight. And this is ridiculous because today is the Shabbat, the Sabbath, where everything is shut down. And it won't be till this evening they can even talk publicly, Israel. And Israel, of course, won't say anything final tonight. They will probably say, well, we're studying it, this and that. But they refuse some type of time-limited negotiations, even though the Mossad chief says, we're optimistic the cabinet will agree to this. All right, so here's the story. It says, following Mossad's optimism that a deal is possible in the next few weeks, sources who are familiar with the details told the Wall Street Journal on Friday that the spy agency informed the mediators that it is optimistic the cabinet will agree to the terms of the ceasefire deal. Now, we reported that yesterday. And so, but here's the latest here. Not only are there gaps between the two parties, but the senior Hamas leader, okay, Osama Hamdan, he said that Hamas is expecting a response from Israel on the ceasefire deal by Saturday night. If the response is positive, we will discuss the proposal in detail. Then he added this: the military capabilities of the movement in the Gaza Strip are still in good shape to continue the war, which is absolute nonsense. Their military is in terrible shape. Their people are, disappointed, discouraged, disillusioned. They're scattered. They do, little things here and there, but there's no real military response now to Israel. They're on the defense, not the offense. However, another senior Hamas official met on Friday in Beirut with the Hezbollah Secretary General, informing him of Hamas' agreement to a ceasefire. And according to the sources, like we said yesterday, Nasrallah welcomed this decision. Israel estimates that Hamas and Hezbollah show they want a deal, but there are still points of contention, obviously. Israel opposes Hamas's demand for a commitment that negotiations continue on, extending the ceasefire to a limitless time, which that exactly what they want. In other words, it seems they want some type of ceasefire that'll last several weeks, even longer, where they can maybe release some hostages, where Israel will not continue to finish the job. and that will not fit Israel's plan. However, they are dangling the hostages in front of Israel now, so we will, do a trade now. So we'll see what happens. And again, we'll know more tonight when Israel publicly responds after the end of the Sabbath. That'll be a number of hours from now. And so on our second edition of Breaking News today, we'll give you the latest of what we know. But right now, it doesn't seem to be something that Israel can accept, although it may be getting somewhat closer. But here comes the however. Headline number 3, the New York Times is applying pressure on Israel to agree to a ceasefire. Surprise, surprise. The far-left New York Times article tries to pressure Israel into accepting a ceasefire, similar to Israeli security officials on Israeli media and American officials' interest. Basically, what it says, their latest piece tells us that the top IDF brass, the top people in the Israeli Defense Force, want to push for a ceasefire with Hamas because they're running out of munitions. This alleged view is supposedly shared by unnamed officials who are part of the security establishment. The New York Times said they've interviewed 9 unnamed former and current military officials who supposedly represent the mainstream view within Israel's security apparatus. Now, there are a number of leftist generals there who have retired and some who are still leading, sadly, Israel's quest to get rid of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. And so you can find a few people probably that would want an immediate ceasefire. But the government, Netanyahu, and the people of Israel do not want that. They want a ceasefire, but they want a ceasefire with a victory because they certainly don't want October 7th happening all over again. Now, we're told that yesterday Netanyahu talked with Biden for a half hour, and that is not really encouraging because as we saw the other day, and as we're going to talk about in a minute, Joe Biden is not in a position to do anything, to lead, to think clearly, to give any advice, to any demands, because he is not up for the job. And so that's going to lead us to our next story here, why it really doesn't help Israel by talking with him. This is from the New York Post. And here's the headline of last night's interview, that 22-minute interview that was aired by ABC. It says this: ABC interview proves that Joe Biden is in complete senile denial. And that's kind of a fair takeaway if you watch the interview. George Stephanopoulos, former Bill Clinton advisor and ultimate Democratic insider, held an intervention masquerading as an interview Friday night. And that's one good way of putting it. Rather than ask tough questions about President Biden's mental deficiencies and the message it sends to our allies and enemies, he begged in a dozen different ways. Do you really think you can beat Donald Trump? If you really wanted to comfort the American people, and here's what the New York Post editorial board came up with, you would do more than a 22-minute interview with a friendly former Democratic operative pre-taped before your early bedtime. In other words, if you want to, give us confidence that you're up for the job, this is not the way to do it. You would have Biden walk into a briefing room and take questions from all comers, but he won't do this because he cannot. And basically, when he was asked about doing some type of having an examination, mental examination, he says, no, I'm not going to do that. I show that every day. I have the mental examination shown to the world by the way I run the country. In other words, you can see that I'm fit and I could do the job, which again, everything shows is completely opposite. He's in denial. It was a very sad interview. It's a very tired old man talking about things that he has really no comprehension of. He doesn't realize he's far behind in the polls. He thinks he's ahead. He thinks he's got everything covered. There are people, unfortunately, the few people that are talking to him that are close, are telling him everything is all right. It's not all right. There's one senator who's trying to get a number of senators together on the Democratic side to basically confront him, to tell him to step down. And story after story, periodical after periodical is now calling for his immediate, stepping down from the job and let Kamala Harris take over as president of the United States, because he's just not able to do it now. And certainly not for the next 4 years. So again, we will be letting you know the latest on this, but it's a continuing story. But the bottom line, this interview just didn't do anything to quell the fears of people that he's not up for the job. Now, here's the strangest story of all. This is what it's gotten to. I'm not making this up. Headline number 5. It's time for the Biden campaign to embrace AI. Now, get this. After the president's dismal debate performance, he noted that he might not walk as easily or talk so smoothly as he used to. And the article says, well, AI can help this. The stakes of the 2024 presidential election cannot be overestimated, with Donald Trump promising to act as a dictator on day one, which he's not. It is not hyperbolic to say the future of American democracy hangs in the balance. All right, against this backdrop, the Biden campaign faces a critical challenge, conveying a strong and effective image of Joe Biden to a population and media ecosystem increasingly focused on optics over substance. Given the president's concerning performance last week, here we go. It's time for the Biden campaign to consider leveraging artificial intelligence to effectively reach the voting public. What's this all about? Well, it says AI-generated content can be tailored to highlight President Biden's accomplishments, which are none, by the way, clearly articulate his policies, which are confusing, and present a consistent, compelling message. In an era where visual mediums and quick, digestible content dominate public perceptions, AI offers an opportunity for more effective communication. These AI-enhanced videos could ensure that the public does not make decisions about the future of our democracy based on an inconveniently timed cough, a stray stutter, or healthy but hobbled walk. And Biden suffers from that. He's got a very stiff gait. Until now, it's been almost taken as a given that using AI renderings of the president would violate some ethical baseline of campaigning. In an ideal world, that may be so. Yet what last week's debate made clear is just how far from any such ideal our current reality is. The greatest moral and ethical imperative for those who care about American democracy should be keeping the man who tried to overthrow it as far away from the White House as possible. And that, of course, is Donald Trump. So here's it's gotten to. Here's how terrible it is. They act, this is from a Democratic source, obviously. Look, we got to get Biden in office. We got to get another 4 years. He can't do it on his own. Obviously, the optics are terrible. He shows he's got no leadership skills. So what we're going to do is AI is going to come to the rescue. We'll put all these videos together showing the great accomplishments that he's done. What a great future, the blue skies that are ahead if the Democrats win the election, and how Donald Trump would be the worst thing that could happen to America. He's going to be a dictator. So we need to do the best we can in portraying that. And we can't do it with Joe Biden right now because he's just a walking cadaver, as many people say. So what we do, we just do artificial intelligence. Now, this is interesting because, and we could talk more about this. We in our book, The Final Antichrist, where we go in detail of what the Bible says is going to take place. In Revelation chapter 13, we know the famous 666, no one can buy or sell without the mark of the beast. And also that there is an image created by the people, the false prophet, the cohort of the final Antichrist, forces them to create an image of this final Antichrist, the leader. And what happens is this image comes to life. It actually comes to life, some type of seemingly miraculous thing, which will start talking to the people, this image, and force them to worship the beast on the pain of death. So it is interesting how something like this technology, or at least the perception of it, is becoming more and more of a reality. And in the future, we're going to see something miraculous happen during the final 7-year period in the Great Tribulation, the 70th week of Daniel. So the AI, it's not going to happen now with the Biden campaign. This is not going to work. But what it does is tell us that this is a tool that will be used in the future, and especially be used somehow, some way, by the final Antichrist when he takes control. And actually, some supernatural things will be going on also. But it's setting the stage for all of that. All right, for information on what's really going to happen, please see our website, Educating Our World, where we have 65 books available for free download. We have a dozen on Bible prophecy. Specifically, the two you'll want to look at now are 25 Signs. We're near the end. And The Final Antichrist, The Coming Caesar, where we talk about all these things in great detail. Now, everything is free. We don't charge ever for anything, free downloads, but to give you an idea, in fact, more than an idea, give you a thorough explanation of what's going to take place according to the Bible, so you're not ignorant. 1 Thessalonians 4:13, Paul said to the Thessalonians, we don't want you to be uninformed or ignorant, brothers and sisters, and we don't want you to be uninformed. That's why we give you all this material for free, so please take advantage of it. All right, so we have these continuing stories tonight when we look at the after the Shabbat, we see what Israel responds to the Hamas demand that today you've got to tell us an answer whether you're going to have a ceasefire or not. And then, of course, the latest on the Biden saga. Most people think he can't last very much longer. It's just pathetic. And so we'll see what happens. We don't know. Stranger things have happened. So he may indeed be their candidate. He may not. He should not be, but We don't know. So we'll keep you informed of all that. But we know this. We know how it's all going to turn out. The Lord Jesus Christ will return and God's kingdom will come to the earth. That's the main thing we need to know. All right, I'm Don Stewart. Thanks for watching. And until later today, may the Lord, as always, richly, richly bless you.